I was at the mall about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I'm sitting on my computer typing up some more parts of the LBJ documentary. Um, and I've got my headphones on. This woman, little older lady, comes up to me and she's like, "Oh, is your book a Bible?" And I say that it's not, and then I mention, what I'm doing, which is writing a documentary. And she asked me if this is work related. I say no, it's just a hobby of mine. And by the way, that's something I find kind of crazy, that we're at a point where if you do anything that could be considered work, like typing up something, recording something, anything that, like, on a surface level can look as though it would be related to a job, people will just assume that it's work related. We're at a point where you are just no longer allowed to have any hobbies, like the idea of someone sitting there and editing some hour-long video just for the hell of it, because they find it interesting, they want to have some, whatever my personal motivations may be. I think it's comedic that we're at a point where people can't have hobbies anymore. But she starts asking me if I'm religious, and she mentions that she had noticed my cross, and I said that I was. She starts talking about the Bible and some guy that she knows who's also religious, and after kind of going through stuff with Corinthians and Genesis and all these different parts of the Bible, uh, because I mentioned a little bit about myself in terms of the difficulty of finding a job and whatever. She goes, "Oh, make sure that you uh, wear this and look this way for your interview." And I said, kind of like in a calm tone, if they even have me in for an interview. And then she goes, "Oh, make sure that you are dressed right." As I'm sitting here, because this is where I started to get kind of annoyed. In a general sense, I can understand the supposed importance of standards, right, in terms of people looking a certain way and acting a certain way. But what I have an issue with is that you tell this lady, and I didn't snap at her or anything, I just kind of started getting annoyed. You tell her that most places you apply to don't respond outside of sending a thanks but no thanks message. And she goes on about, whatever type of way you're supposed to look for this hypothetical interview. In other words, I can appreciate the sentiment of, trying to appear a certain way to score this job, but if most places are not even scheduling interviews, then it's like, who gives a damn? It's not really a thing that matters. Again, if most of them are not even seeing you, because they won't even talk to you. But I guess that's one of the things I find, and I might do a whole separate video, and I have talked about it a little bit before, but just, I really, as someone who is religious, someone that believes in God, I have an issue with a lot of other believers, because I feel as though they use the Bible, and some of them read it, right? Some of them, they can quote verses, but they always take the text of God, right, and use it as almost a shield, like a cloak, to look down on everyone else, to go, "Oh, see, I'm in touch with the Lord, and you are not, because you don't wear what I like, or you don't know as much about the Bible as me." And it's just, I don't know, I really get annoyed with that stuff, because there are a lot of, I hate using this term, socioeconomic factors that might make a religious person not as well versed in the Bible. As someone who doesn't go to church, even if I wanted to, for much of last year I wouldn't have been able to, because I worked on Sunday. And a lot of Christians may look down on the person that doesn't go to church regularly. But if someone is working 5-6 days a week to take care of themselves, I think that's something you should consider before you start to cast your judgments on that person for not being in attendance. I don't know, I guess for me, and again, we can do a separate video about this, but I really wish more and more religious people could find it within themselves to look at the circumstances they're around and say, hey, this person not being as religious as I am, or not going to the extent that I do, that might be caused by something else. It might not be that they're just this non-believer. But it was an interesting encounter, because I'm so used to just sitting alone that when this older lady comes up to me, I'm like, oh, what is this? I'm kind of like open to it, because I know it can't be anything bad, because it's a whole bunch of people around here and I'm not really standing out. I'm just sitting at a table by myself. But yeah, that was it. Where I didn't mind a lot of the little recapping of the Bible, but when we got to that last part about, oh, make sure that you wear this and dress this way, I just started rolling my eyes. It's like, man, why can't people just look at just specifically what's going on and address the problem? Like, oh yes, you need to look a certain way to sit on the computer and send an application for a job that 9 times out of 10 won't even schedule an interview before they turn you down, let alone see what you look like. But it's a really big deal, your appearance.